Hello fellow fans and welcome to my fan cave. My name is Doug Bell and this is the fan cave for those other Star Wars fans and nerds like myself. My wife on my 50th birthday, I almost said 50th wedding anniversary, not that old yet, but on my 50th birthday she gifted me with a fan cave. She had my girls who are grown clean out the basement and give it to me to be a space to set up my Star Wars collection. I've been a Star Wars fan since 1977 and got my first Star Wars figure, which was C-3PO, and from there I just fell in love with Star Wars toys and all things Star Wars. Today I'm going to review a wonderful toy that I had growing up. Well, actually, I didn't have this one. My cousin did. I wasn't cool enough. But it's the Droid Factory Playset, and here it is, right here. It was the first playset that was non-film based. It was not shown in the film. I'll say it that way instead, because it was loosely based on things that went on in the film. For me personally, it reminded me of the interior of the Sandcrawler, but it's a playset that allows the imagination to run wild. All those droids that were in the movie were very exciting to, a 7-year-old mind. And if you were between the ages of 7 and 10 or 11 years old, building a droid was a fantastic idea. You really wanted to be able to do something like that. And so after they released the first, I think, 12 figures, they started coming out with play sets and vehicles to use with those figures fairly quickly. And the Droid Factory was released in 1978 along with the Death Star and some other vehicles and play sets. But it was a playset that was designed for a child to be able to use the Jawas to build droids that they would then sell. The Jawas were one of the first of 4 troop builders in the figure line. They had Jawas, they had stormtroopers, they had Death Squad commanders, which became Death Star commanders, and then Star Destroyer commanders. Those were the 3 names of that one figure. And they had sand people, and Jawas, of course, as I already said. And they were called troop builders because they were hoping that children would buy many of them, because there were many in the movie. And so you could buy 3 or 4 Jawas and use it on this playset. And so I'm going to just kind of go over the playset a little bit and some of its features and its playability and things like that. So it starts off with a plastic base. I'm going to have to get closer because I'm working the camera myself and I can't reach the zoom. But I'll get a little closer. And as you can see, there's a plastic base, and the base has this incline for droids to ride up or vehicles to ride up. And then it comes with a little set of stairs right here to go back down. And then it's got all these loose parts. So these loose pieces are droid parts that you can use to create your own droids. And of course, the most famous droid of all, it lets you build an astromech that looks a lot like R2-D2. It even has the same sticker that R2-D2 has on the R2-D2 figure. It's got the sticker, got the chromatic head with the chromatic blue paint, but it doesn't click. Clicking is very satisfying. And they even have an R2-D2 middle leg, or should I say astromech middle leg, and a couple of astromech side legs. So you could build an entire R2-D2 droid if you wished. But what was cool about this set was you could build any droid that you wanted other than humanoid droids. They didn't have the parts for humanoid droid building. And you could create your own just from the different parts. They had a few body parts and bases, several leg options, and arm and extension options. They even had a tread that you could put on. Looks like a little tank wheel. And they had little wheels too, or really half wheels, but little wheels. They have these teeny tiny, I'm gonna have to get closer again, these teeny tiny little pegs to kind of fasten things together. And they even had some orange tubing and metal bars. I'm gonna reach down and pick that up really quick. Sorry about that. It has a little side step over here for a Jawa to stand on, and a couple of pegs scattered throughout the base so that they could stand in various places. And there's etched in or plastic formed mechanical looking piping and things like that that don't come off, they're just part of the base. And then they also have, as I said, this orange tubing and these metal bars to put the wheels on. They have this kind of sonar fan looking thing that you can plug in the top of it. And then the base has this crane with a hook. Let's get a little closer again. So there's this little hook and this little crane that goes up and down, and it clicks quietly, so it's very satisfying sensorially. I'm one of those weirdos that like little clicks. But it has a lot of different parts. Now, one of the things that the Droid Factory came with is it came with this fold-out blueprints with instructions on how to build specific droids, and one of them was called a monster droid, and it was on wheels and had different levels and arms and things that poked out from it. And then it had other droids that you could build, which was fun. I remember when I played with my cousins, I did try to follow the directions, but I was one of those people who was really more interested in building my own than what the directions said, and a lot of people are like that. I also like to follow the directions too and build what they tell you to build, but then I like to create my own as well. So this is a picture. I'm not fortunate enough to have the box. I do have a complete Droid Factory set as far as parts and pieces go, but I don't have the instruction sheet, I don't have the blueprint sheet, and I don't have the box. And it did come with a variety of labels or stickers that you can put on your pieces. Like here is a colored blue and red label, the R2-D2 label, and then this is a picture of the box. This is what the box looks like. And you see on there are a couple of Jawas running around, and there's the R2 astromech style droid and a couple of other droids that were built. And you could pretend the crane is moving heavy parts, because droid parts are supposed to be heavy. And then this is a picture that I printed off of the internet of what the blueprint booklet looks like, and a picture of the monster droid instructions. And you can look up the instructions on the internet and find various instructions. But overall, this has a lot of playability and a great play value. Little interesting tidbit is this base was reused, a very similar one, was reused to make Jabba's dungeon when Return of the Jedi came out, to represent the place where C-3PO and R2-D2 were taken to be processed as Jabba's droids when they were gifted to him by Luke. I always really liked to build the droids with the wheels to make them ride. I thought that was pretty cool. And I always tried to put things on the hook, and you'll notice, more close-up, you'll notice that the hook itself has a little peg at the bottom so that you can stick the peg in the hole and it will hold. Mine's old, so it's a little stretched out, but you see, and then you can move it around. I always wanted to put it on the hook, but the pieces don't really stick to the hook very well, or set on the hook very well without falling, so they fall apart. So that is the Droid Factory Playset. As a child, I would want 3 or 4 Jawas to go with this to pretend that they are building the droids, and then I would take those droids to some of my other figures and pretend that they are selling them. As I said, I never owned this as a child. It was my cousin's, and so I only got to play with it a couple of times, but I really thought it was cool. Growing up, we did not have a lot of money, so we did have toys, of course. We had several, a good number of toys too. But the Star Wars toys, we didn't have a lot of the ones that I really wanted. That was one of them. But as you saw in my first video, I did have the Death Star playset, and that was my all-time favorite, and I bought it with Christmas money from my grandmother. So that was a really quick overview of the Star Destroyer, of the Droid Factory Playset from Kenner in 1978. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons so that you can see my future videos.